Good morning, Mama S here, and today's blog post number 46, letting a foster parent know that they're not alone. Interestingly enough, this is my last post. This is the last one. I'm caught up. So going forward, every post that I write will have a video with it within a couple of days, and then I'll share that across all of the social media sites. But this one I think is really important. And if you have the time, I highly recommend going and reading it and kind of getting all of the details. It is one of my longer posts, so for that, I'm a little bit sorry. But what it ultimately talks about is the fact that we are surrounded by billions of people, and yet we feel alone. And as foster parents, we are surrounded by friends and family and all sorts of people all over, and we feel alone, and we feel like we can't talk about our journey because we get a lot of comments like, well, you signed up for this, and let me see all of them that I wrote down. You signed up for this. Or if we say that child is going to a different home to get adopted, or they're going back to their biological family and we're supporting that, or they're moving to another foster home, I connected with that child, they're a part of my family too. I would always feel horrible giving up a child. Didn't you know what you were getting into? And people mean well when they make these comments, but they're extremely deeply hurtful. And when you make comments like that to a foster parent, it just makes us go, we can't share with you anymore. And when you realize that you can't share with your support system and you're dealing with a passionately, sometimes aggressive child or challenging child, you can feel very, very alone. And so I put in this post, here are some of the situations that the foster families that are in your life or in your community are dealing with that you might not know of. So loss of placement for any number of reasons, whether that be reunification with a biological family, with a biological relative, going to another foster family, adoption by another foster family, or any number of reasons why that child is leaving. If they've put in their notice on a placement, and this one is very confusing for people because the foster family has said this child can't stay with us, but there's still deep loss in that happening. Challenging behaviors resulting in damage to home, damage to reputation, loss of daycare or schooling, feeling like a failure, working with a kiddo with attachment issues that results in the kiddo not bonding with the adult or the adult not feeling bonded to the child. Whether that be for challenging issues, for attachment issues, or anything along those lines, there are a number of reasons why the family may be struggling with those challenging behaviors. Possibility of losing their job due to missing work. That's a really big fear with a lot of foster parents because we have so many appointments and so many times we have to leave early. Their family's not accepting the foster child as family and having that feeling of outsiderness and dealing with all of that. People that are nosy and want all the details and get frustrated when the foster parent doesn't share those details. I can't tell you how many people want to know everything that's going on in our case, and it's like, well, I can't tell you. It's not my story to tell you. People that call the foster child damaged or broken or battered or any number of words that people use to describe a foster child in a very negative light to a foster parent, and that's very emotional and challenging. People that walk up and say, well, where'd you get this one from? You would be amazed at how many people say that. People that talk about the fact that, oh, thank you, you're saving that child. Some people don't mind that. Some people are like, they feel that that's absolutely true, but there are a lot of us who don't feel that way. We're there to offer support to the foster child and the foster child's family in an extremely challenging time, just like we would hope that our support systems would help us through a challenging time. And then people that ask if you're keeping the child. That one's absolutely a deep one for us because people ask us all the time, what, are you keeping this one? Is she staying with you? Are you adopting her? And often people ask this question when she's within earshot, which leads to a lot of challenging conversations after that fact. And ultimately, people feel like they deserve to know our story and know what's going on with us. And honestly, I don't pry into your life and your personal details, so please don't pry into ours. But what you can do is sit there and listen without judgment. Sit there and listen without offering suggestions on how to do things better. It's absolutely amazing when a person sits there and goes, that sounds like that's really hard. What can I do to help you through this process? Or, you're really going through a lot, and thank you for sharing your journey with me, and let me know what I can do to support you, or if you just need a person to listen. Because a lot of foster parents just want people to listen and just want people to not say, oh, well, I raised an 11-year-old and, that's just normal behavior. Or they're always really nice when they're with me. It's like, well, yeah, they've got some pretty severe manipulative behaviors. So things can definitely be different. And when people think that they can relate, and people want to relate because they think that that's what you want, and it's not true. You can't, unless you've parented a child who has gone through significant trauma. There's no way that you can understand what it's like to parent a child with significant trauma. And I feel like the same thing is true with a child with a disability or anything along those lines. There are people that have children that have a variety of disabilities, and there's no way that I would ever be able to understand what they're going through. So in that case, it's very much please feel free to share whatever you'd like. I'm not going to judge you. I'm just here to listen and offer support in whatever way that you need, and letting people know that they're not alone. I'm a part of a lot of Facebook groups, and there are a lot of foster parents who post about the fact that when they started becoming a foster parent, like, everybody went away. It's more than just you have a child and your friends that don't have children kind of go away. Like, that's normal. But like, you have this child with challenging behaviors, and people all of a sudden they get uncomfortable and they don't know what to say or do or anything like that, so they just kind of avoid you. And I think people don't realize that they're doing that, but they do, and it leads the foster parent to feeling alone. And if there's one post that you listen to and kind of read, it's that everybody needs support, and people that are getting secondhand trauma from the children that they're caring for, they need your support too. So, what kind of things can you do? If your foster parent friend likes coffee, meet them out for coffee and just let them talk. Don't interrupt. Don't try and associate and compare your life with theirs. Don't. Just let them talk, and let them talk, and don't judge, and just say, you know what? Like, I'm really glad that you got that out. We don't have to talk about this again if you don't want to. We can talk about this again, absolutely, but don't try and reserve judgment, and try and not show that you're judging, especially for the children. And for the love of God, please do not offer parenting advice unless it's asked for, because parenting children that have lived through significant trauma is different than parenting a child that has not. And you might look at it and go, I don't understand why you're parenting the child that way. Then ask that question. Say, in my situation, this is what's happened. I see that this is how you're parenting this child. I'm really interested in why you parent that way and how that works for you. And who knows, maybe you'll learn something new and a new way to connect with your biological child, because a lot of parenting children that have been through trauma is all about building and maintaining a connection while correcting behavior, and it's really focused on building connection. So kind of take that as an opportunity to learn yourself instead of trying to teach someone. Make a meal and bring it to them, or go through the paperwork process, become a respite provider, and give that family a break that they might need, because as interesting as it is, think about your own family. Like, they take your child and you can kind of go and do your own thing. A lot of foster parents don't get a break. Like, when I was growing up, I went to my cousin's house, I went to my grandparents' house, I went to my friend's house, so my parents always had a break. I was always going and doing something with other people. So my parents would have, a day or a weekend or a week or whatever to kind of recharge. And as a foster parent, it's interesting because we'll go 3 months and realize, well, we haven't had a date night. And as a married couple, that's really hard. And as a family that is parenting a child and that has a higher level of needs, and you always have to be constantly working on things or behaviors get worse, it gets really exhausting. So when we actually connected with another foster family, so she can go with them, and we'll go for a date night or something like that. And it is amazing, and it's fantastic, and how much you can recharge your batteries in just a few short hours. So there's a lot of different things that you can do to help support foster parents, and the biggest one is just closing your mouth and listening, and not trying to fix anything for them, not trying to say any of those well-intentioned things like, well, you signed up for this. And how I associate that with people, like how I point out how ridiculous this is, let's say your best friends got married. Okay, you have 2 friends, they got married to each other, they were happy, everything was great, and one of them became terminally ill. And the one that's still healthy, would you say to them, well, you signed up for this, you married that person, that's your problem, and I'm not going to help you through that? Of course you wouldn't. You would try and offer support and help them through that, because you sign up understanding that there will be challenges and there will be heartache and there will be hard things. And I understand in fostering you have a higher level of expectations of challenging things, but you would support anybody else. Like, you also, if a person gave birth to a child with special needs, you wouldn't look at them when they're saying, man, this is really hard, saying, well, you got pregnant, like, that's your problem. And if you're a person who would say that, you need to think about it, because it's really damaging and it's really hard for people to hear, and we need more people that are building people up and offering support. And think about if something in your life happened where someone, was hurt, or you go through an exceptionally challenging time, how would you want to be treated? And, kind of associate that there. So thank you very much for watching. Please go ahead and comment. Let me know any thoughts that you may have. And as always, please subscribe and share. Thank you.